Hello, dear students. Welcome to the third episode of Multiplying Two Fractions. As you already know, you might know the steps of finding the answer, but you may not know why you're doing that. So, I would strongly encourage you to watch the first and the second episodes of Multiplying Fractions, wherein we were discussing about multiplying whole number with a fraction in the first episode and multiplying two unit fractions in the second episode. The links for the videos are given in the description. Please take a look. In this video, we are going to see how a unit fraction multiplied by a non-unit fraction like 2 by 3 can be visualized and also can be understood better. We'll also be talking about what happens when two non-unit fractions like 3 by 2, an improper fraction and a proper fraction are multiplied. What happens? So let's delve into a bit deeper with the first question of what happens when you do half times 2 by 3. So let's first visualize what is 2 by 3. So 2 by 3 is when you have one whole divided into three equal parts. The 2 by 3 denotes the first two being shaded, like you are choosing the first two. Now, what happens when half times 2 by 3 happens? So like I mentioned in the part 2 of the video, if selected section of the fraction, how do you find the half? So there are two different ways to do it. Let me tell the first way based on what we saw on the part 2 video. So how did we do? We actually split one equal part into half because this is the half that has been mentioned. So you divide this as half and this as half. So what happens now? Yes, you can see there are four equal parts now, and in order for all the parts to be equal, the unshaded part should also be divided into half. So now there are six equal parts in the entire whole, and there are four shaded parts, and these four shaded parts are basically 2 by 3, but we want to find half of it. So what is half of 4? As you know, half of 4 is 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You just need half of it, which is two equal parts. So I'm going to shade it with a blue color, the equal parts, only 2. So 2 out of 6 would be the answer for 1 by 2 times 2 by 3. Essentially, this can also be viewed in other ways as this part. Like there are this is the sixth part, like 4, this is the 2 by 3, and then half of 2 by 3 will be just this part with the blue shade. So that will be 2 by 6. So another way to visualize the same thing can be, so take the 2 by 3 assets as we discussed in the first part. This is the 2 by 3, and as we discussed, we want to find half of it. So in this 2, what is half? 1. So half of 2 is 1. So you can also choose that it is simply 1, which is this that is being mentioned here, 1. And no need to actually split because it is already just the equal parts everywhere. So then on this case, 1 by 2 times 2 by 3 is nothing but, there are three equal parts, so it is 3 and 1 out of it. So 1 by 3. And 2 by 6 and 1 by 3 are equivalent fractions. So if we want to explain the same concept with the number wise, this is visual thinking that you understood the two different ways. If you want to explain in the number way, what you can understand is if you are going to do 1 by 2 times 2 by 3, you select two parts of it, but then you cannot have half of it just by choosing. You can in some cases, but in the first example, if you cannot take it, you split the entire parts so that into two each part so that the half can be selected. So that is the reason we are multiplying the denominators. 2 times 3 is 6, because if it is 6 you can take it as a half, and then we are actually multiplying the numerator because this is 2 by 3, which is being the selected area, and of it we have selected into 6 equal parts, and of it we are just taking only one half. Yeah, so only one half, and that is this 2 by 6. So that is why we are multiplying the numerator. 1 times 2 is 2. So in the second case, it is a similar way, but however, in this case, there is 2 by 3, yes, and in the 2 by 3, there's always, it's already having a half, so you have two halves already, and therefore you can easily choose the first half. So what does it mean? If it is 1 by 2 times 2 by 3, you can actually cancel this 2 and 2. Why we can cancel is because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and any number multiplied by 1 is 1. That is the reason we are directly getting 1 by 3 in this case. So if this is clear, please do take time to draw in your note, tell it aloud like this and explain it to your friend. So if this is clear, let's take one more example wherein we have an improper fraction. Let's take 3 by 2 times 2 by 3. So again, in this example, let's go with the visual thinking first. So we have 2 by 3, and then we will do what we were calling about 3 by 2. So this will be a bit more interesting again. So this is 2 by 3. And how can I write 3 by 2? So basically, 3 by 2 is similar to 3 times half. This is what we saw in the first video. So this is very important to understand that I can write 3 by 2 as 3 times half. Yes, please watch the first video if you are not sure how it has come. So 3 times half. And now you already know with the previous example. So if you want to multiply a half times 2 by 3, right? Half times 2 by 3, you know what to do. What to do? So you simply divide all the equal parts into half, like 2 times. So then the denominator will become 6 equal parts. And this is half, so which is you are actually taking one half of it. So which means only these two. So 1 by 2 times 2 by 3 is 2 by 6. And this is just one half, right? This is just one half. And how many such halves are you taking? How many such halves? So basically it is 3 times 2 by 6, or the shaded region, you are taking it 3 times. So what does it mean? This is the one time which have two equal parts. This is the second time which have two equal parts. And this is the third time which has two equal parts. So how can I take the unshaded region, ma'am? That would be a question, obviously. But remember, you are taking 2 by 3, but you are multiplying 3 by 2 times, which means you are multiplying by a number which is more than one, a whole number and a mixed fraction. So on that case, like we saw in the part 1 of the episode, it will be more than the proper fraction. The answer would be more than the proper fraction. So that's why this is taking 3 times 2 by 6. So this is 2 by 6 and this is just 1 times. And here the 3 represents 3 times. So this is again another 2 by 6. This is again another 2 by 6. So what you get? So 2 by 6, 2 by 6, 2 by 6, which is 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 by 6 is 1. So isn't it very interesting how to understand 3 by 2 times 2 by 3, resulting in 1 through visual. So take time to sync it. Again, we can also apply the same example which we saw earlier in the second one, directly getting the answer. It is a very similar one. Please be drawing along with me with the steps on your notes so that it will be clear for you. So what does 2 by 3 mean again? Yes, we start one by one with 2 by 3. Yeah, this is 2 by 3. And as we saw earlier, this is 3 by 2 is 3 times of half, right? So what is half of 2 by 3? This is exactly the half, which is 1 by 3, right? This is half. And then you want 3 times half. So this is 1 by 3 and again 3 times. Again another 1 by 3, again another 1 by 3. So 3 times 1 by 3 will become 1. So in both the ways, if you see, we can easily understand how 3 by 2 times 2 by 3 is 1. Please do take some examples. There are some examples given in the description. You can use those examples and work it out on your own. I hope this three parts episode has given a good clarity for you to understand why we are multiplying the numerators and denominators separately to find the multiplication of two fractions. Thank you.